An epic wild pets journey awaits. Join Robinson on an epic adventure as he tamed wild pets, forging strong bond with them and overcoming deadly challenges. Ready for the journey? Let's dive in. After about 10 or 12 days on the island, I started worrying that I'd lose track of time. I didn't have books, pens, or ink, and I feared I'd even forget which day was Sunday. To fix this, I grabbed my knife and carved the date I arrived, September 30th, 1659, onto a big wooden post in bold letters. I shaped the post into a large cross and planted it on the beach where I'd first stumbled ashore, half drowned and exhausted. Each day, I scratched a small notch into the wood. Every seventh day, I made a longer notch for Sunday, and for the first day of each month, an even bigger one. This simple calendar kept my days, weeks, and months straight in a world where time could easily slip away. Among the treasures I'd pulled from the wrecked ship, I found some things I hadn't mentioned yet. Items that weren't fancy but turned out to be lifesavers. There were pens, ink, and paper from the captain's and crew supplies, along with 3 or 4 compasses, some math tools, maps, and navigation books. I also rescued 3 good Bibles I'd brought from England and a few Portuguese books, including some prayer books. I stashed them all carefully, knowing they'd be hard to replace. I can't forget the animals from the ship, a dog and 2 cats. The dog leaped into the sea and swam to me the day after I hauled my first load of supplies ashore. His wet fur glistened as he shook himself dry, and from then on he stuck by my side, a loyal friend who couldn't talk but made the lonely days bearable. The cats came with me too, and I fed them scraps to keep them close. I treated my pens, ink, and paper like gold because I knew they wouldn't last forever. While I had ink, I kept detailed records, but when it ran out, my notes got messy. That made me realize how much I missed. Things like a spade, pickaxe, shovel, needles, pins, and thread. I got used to living without linen, but the lack of tools slowed me down. Building a fence around my camp took almost a year. The wooden stakes were so heavy that cutting one in the woods, dragging it home, and planting it in the ground could take 3 days. At first, I hammered them in with a chunk of wood, my arms aching with every swing. Later, I found an iron crowbar among the ship's wreckage, which helped, though the work still left me exhausted. Time wasn't a problem, though. I had plenty of it. When I wasn't building, I roamed the island hunting for food, a daily task that kept me alive. One day, I sat down on the shore, the waves lapping at my feet, and thought hard about my life. To clear my head, I decided to write a list of the good and bad things about being stranded. I wasn't expecting anyone to find it. I just needed to stop my mind from spinning. I scratched it out like a balance sheet, misery on one side, hope on the other. The bad hit me hard. I was stuck on a deserted island with no rescue in sight. I was alone, cut off from everyone, with no one to talk to or lean on. I had no proper clothes, no weapons to protect myself, and I kept imagining wild animals lurking in the shadows. But then the good crept in. I was alive, breathing, while my shipmates had all drowned in the storm. Something or someone had spared me, and maybe that same force could get me out of this mess. I wasn't starving. The island gave me food. The weather was so warm I didn't need clothes much anyway. And unlike the wild coasts of Africa I'd seen, there were no fierce beasts here. Plus, I'd salvaged enough from the ship to keep going. Staring at that list, I felt a flicker of hope. Even in this lonely place, there was something to hold on to. I stopped gazing out at the empty sea, dreaming of ships that never came, and turned my energy to making life better. I'd already set up a tent against a rock, surrounded by a sturdy fence of posts and ropes. Now I built a thick wall of turf around it, about 2 feet wide, to keep out intruders, animal or human. After a year and a half, I added a roof of tree branches to shield me from the heavy rains that poured down in certain seasons. My hands blistered as I worked, but it felt good to see my little fortress take shape. Inside the fence, I had a cave where I stored my supplies, but at first it was a jumble. Boxes and barrels shoved together with no room to move. So I grabbed my tools and started digging deeper into the soft, sandy rock. Once I was sure no animals could get in, I carved a tunnel sideways until I broke through outside the fence. This became my back door, giving me more space and a secret way in and out. Next, I craved a chair and table. Without them, eating or writing felt awkward, like trying to dance on a rocking ship. I'd never built anything before, but I had time to figure it out. I chopped down a tree, hacked it flat with my axe, and smoothed it with an adze. One tree gave me one board. Slow, sweaty work, but I didn't mind. I used planks from the ship to make a rough table and chair, then built shelves along the cave walls for my tools, nails, and guns. Soon my cave looked like a tidy workshop, and I smiled every time I stepped inside. With my home set, I started a journal to track my days. At first, I'd been too shaken to write, my mind a storm of fear and grief. But once I settled in, I poured my story onto the pages. Here's how it began. September 30th, 1659. I, Robinson Crusoe, washed up on this miserable island after a brutal storm wrecked my ship. I called it the Island of Despair. Everyone else drowned, and I barely made it. That first day I wandered the shore, my stomach churning from swallowed seawater, cursing my fate. I had no food, no shelter, no clothes, no weapons, nothing. Night came and I climbed a tree to sleep, rain soaking me through as I shivered, terrified of what might prowl below. October 1st. Morning brought a shock. The ship had drifted closer to shore, still upright. My heart leaped. I could swim out and grab supplies, but then it sank again, thinking of my lost friends. If we'd stayed aboard, could we have saved her? I pushed the thought away, swam to the wreck, and spent the day hauling food and tools back, rain pattering on my shoulders. From that October 1st to 24th, I made trip after trip to the ship on makeshift rafts, racing against the tides. Rain fell often, marking the start of the wet season. October 20th. Disaster struck. My raft flipped, dumping everything into the shallows. I waded in chest deep, fishing out what I could as the tide ebbed. October 25th. A stormy night shattered the ship. By morning, only bits of wreckage poked above the waves. I scrambled to cover my salvaged goods, shielding them from the downpour. October 26th. I explored the shore, my pulse racing at every rustle, searching for a safe spot to live. I picked a place under a rock, traced a half circle in the sand, and planned a double-row fence with posts, ropes, and turf to keep danger out. From hot October 26th to 30th, I lugged my supplies to this new home, working through stinging rain. October 31st. I ventured out with my gun, stomach growling, and shot a she-goat. Her kid trailed me back, bleeding, but I had to kill it later when it wouldn't eat. November 1st. I pitched my tent under the rock, strung up my hammock, and slept there, the night air cool against my skin. November 2nd. I stacked my chests and raft boards inside the fence, building a barrier within my marked-out fort. November 3rd. I hunted again, bagging 2 duck-like birds. Their meat was rich and warm in my mouth. That afternoon, I started carving a table, splinters flying. November 4th. I set a routine. Mornings hunting with my gun for 2 or 3 hours if the rain held off. Work until 11, a quick meal, a nap from noon to 2 to escape the heat, then more work at dusk. Today, I shaped my table, my hands clumsy but learning. November 5th. My dog and I went out. I shot a wild cat, its fur soft, its meat useless, and skinned it. Along the shore, strange seabirds screeched, and seals slipped into the waves before I could blink. November 6th. I finished the table. It wobbled, but it worked. Each mistake taught me something new. November 7th. The weather cleared, a rare gift. From the 7th to the 10th, skipping the 11th for Sunday, I wrestled with a chair. I tore it apart and rebuilt it, frustrated but stubborn, until it held my weight. I'd stopped marking Sundays on my post, though, and lost track of them. November 13th. Rain fell, refreshing the air, but thunder boomed so loud my chest tightened. Lightning flashed and I pictured my gunpowder exploding. I vowed to split it into small batches. November 14th to 16th. For 3 days I crafted little boxes, each holding a pound or 2 of powder, and hid them far apart. I also shot a big bird, juicy and tender. November 17th. I started digging into the rock behind my tent for more room. I needed a pickaxe and shovel. The crowbar worked as a pick, but I puzzled over a spade. November 18th. In the woods, I found a tree with wood hard as iron. I hacked off a piece, nearly ruining my axe, and shaped it into a rough shovel. It wasn't pretty, but it dug. From November 23rd to December 10th, I widened my cave over 18 days, turning it into a warehouse kitchen and dining room. I slept in the tent, though heavy rain sometimes drove me inside, where I'd added a roof of poles and leaves. December 10th. I thought the cave was done, but dirt crashed from the ceiling, nearly burying me. My heart pounded. I could have died. I hauled out the rubble and propped the roof with posts. December 11th to 12th. I braced the ceiling with boards and more posts, securing it in a week. The posts doubled as walls, splitting my cave into rooms. December 17th to 20th. I built shelves, hung my tools, and set up a second table. Wood was running low, but I made do. December 24th to 25th. Rain trapped me inside for 2 days, the patter endless. December 26th. The air cooled. I shot a young goat and caught another with a broken leg. I splinted it, and it healed, growing tame, a spark of an idea for raising animals. January 3rd to April 14th. I built a thick wall around my tent, a half circle against the rock. Rain slowed me, but I drove big posts into the ground, layered turf outside, and hid my home from prying eyes. One day, rummaging through my stuff, I found a bag of old chicken feed, mostly husks after rats had gotten to it. I shook it out near the rock. A month later, green shoots poked up, barley, then rice. My jaw dropped. I thought it was a miracle, tears stinging my eyes as I thanked God. Later, I realized the grains came from that bag, spared by chance and shaded by the rock. I harvested every stalk, dreaming of bread, though it took 4 years to grow enough. April 16th. I finished a ladder to climb my wall, pulling it in after me. I felt safe until the next day. As I worked in the cave, the ground rumbled. Dirt fell, posts cracked, and I bolted outside, scaling the wall in a panic. The earth shook 3 times, a massive rock tumbling half a mile away with a roar. The sea churned, and I stood frozen, sick with fear, until it stopped. A hurricane followed, then rain flooded my cave. I cut a drain hole and sipped rum to steady my nerves. I decided caves weren't safe with earthquakes. I'd build a hut in the open, walled like this one, and started planning on. So that's all for this video. I hope you liked it. If you want to know what's happened next, click on the video on screen and I will see you there. Bye-bye.